Hello, everybody, and welcome to Magical Journey. I am your host, Daniel Cahoon, and tonight I have a very special show for you guys. Really quick before I introduce my guest tonight, I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping here. First of all, do not forget if you are new here to like, share, and subscribe to this channel, please. And if you were seeing this at a later date, definitely, if this is your first time here, subscribe to me. Uh, this is the YouTube channel for Magical Journey. I also have a Facebook page and a Facebook group for Magical Journey. So if you are on Facebook, definitely look us up there. You will get all updates on a real-time basis on that. Now, let's get to the really good part of the night. So, my guest tonight is named Willow, and she has a very interesting lifelong paranormal experience story. And I want to bring her to the stage to give you her story tonight. So, help me to welcome Willow to the stage. Hey,
Hello.
hey, how are you?
I'm okay. This is
Yeah.
different. This is the first time I've been on here like this.
it You get used to it really quickly. So, before we get started, my folks would probably like to know if you have any social media, how they can get in touch with you online, that
um,
sort of thing.
yes, I have a TikTok. Actually, it's Wicked Willow's Cavern, and in the in my bio, you have my other account, which is connected to my link tree, which has all my other socials. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
makes it kind of easier.
definitely does. So, you have had just an amazing journey through the paranormal in your lifetime. Um,
Yeah,
give us
some people call it a blessing, and some people call it a curse.
Mm, yeah, it really depends on your perception, I guess. So, give
Yeah.
us a little bit of an introduction story to that, and then we'll start talking about some of your experiences, especially recent ones, maybe.
Oh yes, I have plenty of recent ones. Um, I'm Willow. I was born and raised in Virginia. I am part indigenous. On my palm side color, color of the family, there's actually witches, and uh, some of them were actually a part of the Virginia witch trials. So there's a lot of different spiritual aspects of my upbringing that I got to see on different spiritual levels. Some of them not so great, but some of them were wonderful. What I would say is like it really depends. Like I don't connect with the palm side color of my family. Yes, a lot of them were witches, but the ones that weren't were WS, and there was a lot of negativity, negative spirits, and lots of tainted energy being around them. And it wasn't just them as a person, it was their whole entire environment.
Wow.
It was like wherever they walked, doesn't matter how clean your house was, like how cleansed it was like this big old baggage they were carrying with them, and it just leaked through your home.
Mhm. Yeah. Wow. So,
Yeah,
how old were you about when you had your first paranormal experience?
too. I was roughly around 2 or 3 years old, and it was with a
Wow.
patty cake doll.
Oh wow.
And these patty cake dolls, they were magnetic. The palms had magnets in them, and
Hmm.
she didn't sing until you put the magnets together, and it had a couple batteries in the back of it. And each night, roughly around 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, it would get closer and closer to my bed. Every night, get closer and closer. And living in a household of very religious people, I was gaslighted a lot. Oh, you didn't see that. Oh, you're making stuff up. Oh, it's just an imaginary friend. It was a lot of gaslighting.
Hmm.
And my Nana, even though she was a Christian, she was indigenous. So she was like, oh, spirits. She's talking to the spirits. And my mother was like, you're crazy. I'm like, not crazy. I know what I seen. I know what I heard. But it grew. I wasn't just seeing, I wasn't only seeing spirits and entities. I was seeing angels and beings that I can't even describe to this day. And it just traveled with me. And my Nana said it's a part of my indigenous
Hmm.
side coming through me. That it's a gift. And some days it feels like a gift, and like I said, some days it feels like a curse. Because some days you don't know how to block it all out. It's like if you go somewhere, like my most recent, uh, one of my most recent experiences was being at the Catholic homeless shelter. It was a segregated school for people of color and indigenous. I kid you not. At 12 o'clock every morning, the door would open. My door would open, and you'll just hear little footsteps and giggling down the hallway.
Oh wow.
But there was a lot of times throughout the day being there, it was like hearing a bunch of children laughing and screaming at the same time. And if you've been in a room where there's so many people talking over top of each other, it's hard to focus and concentrate.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's not easy to just block them out. Because if they're just right there, it's like, hey, I'm trying to pay attention to you, but I can only pay attention to one of you at a time,
Right.
or it
And
ends
of
up like
course, they
white
don't,
noise.
yeah, they don't have boundaries either. They're just like, no, yeah, it it
No,
gets a
they
little
don't. And
crazy.
I'm not the only one in my house that can see spirits. My daughter can.
Oh wow.
Since she was 2 years old, it was funny. I got her a toy from Goodwill, and a week later, she's talking to this little friend of hers.
Huh.
I was like, oh, I brought, I got you a toy and you a new friend. That's great. Are they friendly? Yeah, they play with me all the time. I was like, that's why you're always giggling. That makes
Wow.
sense.
Wow. So yeah, at that age, she's already, wow, yeah. You guys started early with being able
Really
to,
not early. A lot of children see spirits.
mhm.
A lot of children see their afterlives. But what happens a lot is parents make them suppress it and make them, oh, it's just make believe. And then they'll start believing that it's not real, so they will eventually lose that ability. Children are innocent and they're more vulnerable and sensitive to spirit like activities. I really think the best out of all the paranormal technology they have came out with, the best thing you can have, the best tool is an animal or a child, because they're going to see stuff and feel stuff you're not going to be able to see and feel.
Right.
Oops.
Oops.
I went to put my foot down and I knocked the thing over. But I think there's a lot of misinformation out there, especially in like Hollywood. They
Mhm.
they make everything so scary and like in a way that nobody really wants to experience it. They make it where everything's demonic or evil, and it's not. It's simply a lot of times I will notice that a lot of times when I see spirits that envision there's a hallway and there's doors all the way down, but all the doors are open and there's spirits just going back and forth this hallway because they're lost. But they can see in between both rooms. Sometimes spirits are in between timelines.
Very much. Very much.
So they could be just looking at you to see, hey, is this where I'm supposed to be at? Is this
Hmm.
is this where I was at when I passed?
Yeah.
And you don't always see them in full form. Sometimes you just see like a little aura of them, or you can feel a vibration. You can simply, if they're in the in between part, what it could be is you could sense that they're there, but they're just looking in.
Yeah. Yeah. So is there, do they, how do they use different ways of communicating with you from time to time? Do
Oh
they,
yeah,
yeah.
most definitely. Um, I've had some just I not too long ago. I had one. I put this ball up. It's a little bouncy ball. I
Oh,
took it
yeah.
away from Skylar because I have seizures.
Mhm.
I put it up on the top shelf so she couldn't reach it. I'm cleaning. She's in the bathtub, and it gets thrown at my back.
Mm.
I was kind of pissed about it, and then I'll go put it back there, and it does it again. I was like, "What in the world are you wanting?" And I noticed the cat was right there. I was like, "Wait a minute, I'm putting two to two together." And I give the cat the ball, and the cat puts it up in the basket, and then the basket gets knocked over. I was like, you know what? I'm sticking this whole damn thing in the closet, or I'm sticking the cat in the closet. I don't know which one I'm doing first. I
Right.
don't know what they're communicating, but I don't want to go into a seizure in the process.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I've had them simply move stuff, slam doors. Uh, a couple of times I've had light bulbs just burst.
Mm.
That was annoying. That was
Mm.
scary and annoying because I didn't know how I was going to clean up all that glass. It was one of those spiral.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
That glass is so thin. I was scared I was going to cut my foot open.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's, and there's a lot to that. Somebody
Yeah,
wanted to know, Denise wanted to know,
yeah. I can't see the chat, so
yeah,
remember, I can't
she
see the
wants,
comments unless
uh,
I. Yeah, I can't see the comments. Okay.
she
What?
wants to know if you can explain what palm sides mean.
Oh, palm color. Palm color. We use that on platforms like TikTok. It means white.
Mm.
TikTok censors a lot of stuff, and we use words like POC or palm color. Um, we use certain TikTok slang to kind of
Mm,
not make it where we don't get banned. We don't use
right.
the word banned either. We use bananaed.
Right. Right.
They censor everything.
Yeah, I've noticed like I remember like when I used to be on TikTok a lot more than I am now. It was like whole conversations where we were like having to talk in code the whole time. And I was just like,
Yeah.
what did we really just say?
If if we were kids and we were trying to speak the way we do on TikTok, we'd look at each other like we're crazy.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I know it's like, and sometimes I even have to like go back and ask somebody like, what did you just say? Can you text me what you're trying to tell me here? Um,
I feel old because I'm still getting used to abbreviations, and somebody used abbreviation the other day, and I was like, what does that mean? I feel
right?
old and stupid when I have to ask questions like that. I'm like, I don't know.
Why there was a point where back whenever the internet was a lot younger and they used to have chat rooms, uh, people would like be on there using all these just crazy like abbreviations and a bunch of letters put together and so forth. And I was like, what am I reading here? Yeah, that was
Oh, I
definitely.
figured out the comments now. Oh, you're welcome, Denise. Sorry for the confusion. I'm still getting used to this. I'm not used to doing the YouTube live stuff.
It's okay. It's live. I've had
It's a
some crazy
learning.
stuff happen with live, so I'm still learning a lot of stuff too. I'm not even sure sometimes what it is I'm seeing whenever I look at these screens.
Yes, sometimes they communicate with lights. Sometimes they communicate with gently rolling stuff or throwing stuff. They've communicated in many different ways with me. Um, with actual like I said, I've had dolls. I've had different types of um different material possessions that were spirit bound, and
Oh,
some of them
wow.
I didn't know if they were spirit bound. That was a surprise, but there was some stuff that I knew was spirit bound that I intentionally got.
Oh, well, yeah.
But like I said, I think there's a lot of misconception out there. Some spirits just stay, some spirits just go, some spirits are just trying to figure out what happened to them because they're like, hey, I'm here, but why am I here? I don't know.
Right,
You
right.
just showed up.
Have you ever had any like where you go out and you go to somebody's house or you go to a building or something, and the next thing you know, you've got a hitchhiker that goes home with you?
Yes, my friend's grandma.
Oh, wow. So Granny got invited home for dinner without getting invited home for dinner. Is that what you're saying? Wow.
What happened was my friend's kid put one of their grandma's things in my purse.
Oh,
And
wow.
then grandma came home with me.
Wow.
I took it back over there and I was like, well, your grandma said hi and I hope you're doing good.
Wow. Wow.
Oh, it was comical, and the kid was just peeking over the corner was like, I didn't do anything. Like I did nothing.
Wow.
Well, that's one of the things I think kids see more than they say they do. And I think
Definitely.
that's why he stuck that in my purse. I was like, well, thanks. Are you telling me grandma's getting a little annoying? Making sure you brush your teeth before you go to bed.
Oh God. No rest for the living, huh? It's like
Oh, yeah.
when you, when you're a kid, you definitely never get that. Um,
Oh, no. Definitely not. One thing that I actually possessed that was really haunted, and I
mhm,
didn't expect it because I like buying stuff from estate sales. I am a sucker for going to estate sales. Doesn't matter if it's like an estate yard sale or an auction. But I got this really old Bible, and I got it for like $15. But
mhm,
it was a Bible that I've never seen before. It had a lot of different writing. I had to translate stuff, but it had pictures of like really old black and whites and different things, and there was all kinds of like different letters that were marked to people that were like they were like renting to, or they were like receipts. But it kept on going to this one page. I'd have it closed, and it kept on going to this one page over and
mhm.
over. And this one page that it would stay on had a postcard, and it had like the address and stuff, and it had a picture of California, like back from like the 40s and 50s.
Wow.
Now they never came through to me, but I could feel them there, and I knew that they were there because they would consistently open it up.
Mm,
And one day, the the Bible wasn't there. It's gone. Never seen
wow.
it again.
Wow.
I was like, okay, well, have a safe trip back home, I guess.
That is crazy. That is so wild.
But it had
But
really beautiful like art in it, and it had like pictures like of the devil and God, and it had like really old. It looked like murals in it.
mm,
It was a really thick book. It was like that thick, and it was like big. It had like gold on the side of it.
mhm,
It looked similar to what my great grandfather had, but my great grandfather's was Hebrew. It wasn't English.
mm,
But this was a different language that I didn't know what it was at all. But it was amazing, all the notes and all of the letters, and somebody who the person that was spirit bound to that Bible, they put a lot of time and work and energy
mm,
into it, and I feel the energy that came off of it was that was their only form of safety that they felt, was journaling in that Bible.
mm,
And I sense that a lot with other people I have spoke about spirituality and paranormal about, is a lot of times they use they didn't use the Bible like the people use Bibles. They use it as multiple people of wisdom wrote into this for
mm,
them to live their life in a way they could seek a specific type of abundance and wisdom. And it was the one thing mankind couldn't take away from them. Didn't matter if they were like, didn't matter where they were on, if they were in the poverty level or higher up or whatever it was back in those days when there was like slavery and stuff. That was the one thing they couldn't take from them.
right. Right.
And they could put all their stuff in it, and I'm guessing that's one of the reasons that person was so bound to it is because they put their life into it.
Hmm.
I don't know if that makes any sense.
It does. It does. Certain cultures do that. Oh,
Well, I'm thinking whatever you do, when you put your intentions into it, you're putting your energy into it, and they're using it as a vessel.
hmm.
Skylar, be quiet, baby.
Yeah.
We're not
Yeah,
talking about cats.
there would be a lot of that. There's a friend of mine bought a house that was owned by um the previous owner was an old Polish lady, and when she passed, a lot of stuff got left in that house that was hers, and it was she was very Catholic. Um, Originally, like when my friend first bought this house, there was still like all of the holy water vessels like at every door in the house, every single door. And there were all of these just really ornate Polish paintings. They would have um like scripture written in Polish and so forth on them and stuff like that. And she had a Bible that was all in Polish that had some really elaborate drawings and paintings, and um, she had a lot of family history in there and notes tucked in all the pages with different things like photos and
Almost like a
dates and
scrapbook.
oh yeah, yeah. She had photos and dates and all kinds of stuff in there. And I felt her presence in that house a lot, a lot.
I helped my great grandfather remodel houses growing up, and we would often find spirit vessels
Oh
and
wow.
wards and spirit vessels.
Hmm.
And me and my great grandfather would just put it back where we found it. Like, we didn't see anything. Like, nope, it's there for a reason. We're not
Right,
removing it. Sky, honey,
right.
baby, you gotta be quiet. She's rocking. I'm sorry,
No, she's fine. It's fine.
but I mean everything from baby shoes. That actually, there's several times we found baby shoes, but there was this. We didn't blink all the other times, but this one time we did grow concern. There was one house we remodeled, and there was a pair of baby shoes, but there was also shackles,
Mm.
and these shackles fit a little kid's hands and feet, and it
Oh
was
wow.
shoved in the back of the closet behind a water heater,
Mm.
and it was a pair of baby shoes, one slipper, the shackles, and a rag that smelled like ammonia.
Mm.
And before we found it, I kept on telling my great grandfather I heard screaming. And he didn't know what I meant by that, but I kept on hearing little kids screaming like they
Mm.
were being tortured. And then we finally find where the water heater was. And we found that. And then when we went under the house, because we had to go in the house because the water lines were leaking, we found a bunch of like a bunch of hair that looked like was scalp,
Oh wow.
and it was under there with a bunch of like bloody clothes,
Mm.
and it was like little kids' clothes, like maybe 7, 8 years old to about a 2 year old.
Oh, gee.
And I kept on hearing screaming, and that was the only time my great grandfather really wanted me to cleanse that house. Because the
Mm.
other places, we kind of were like, this is wards, or this is protection. We're just gonna kind of leave that there. But we've seen that, and yeah, my grandfather's like, yeah, you take care of that. I'll take care of the repairs.
Right.
I was like, well,
Right.
thank you. I volunteer for tribute.
Right. Wow.
Well, I've always been spiritually bound, but depending on the type of people I've been around, it's either they're really accepting or they're really, oh, that's the devil's work.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of that.
I blame Hollywood.
Yeah, that and some a lot of misunderstanding from old timers. But yeah, the old traditions are very they tend to teach people differently.
Go over there.
Mhm.
Loki energy, I swear. Loki. She's the definition of Loki. She
Wow.
she literally screams at spiders and Loki's not talking to me. Well, that's the you and Loki problem.
Wow. That's funny. So you mentioned a little bit ago about spirit vessels. For people that don't know what that is, explain that to them.
A spirit vessel is a object in our world, and it's must just say this pack of cigarettes.
Mhm.
They bind themselves to it. It's just them connecting to a object and withholding themselves. Kind of like you having a bottle of water. The water is the spirit or the entity, and it's within sight of it.
Mhm. Yep. Yep.
They're not only they don't just get bound to just dolls. They do. It can be a doll. It can be a book. It can be an old photograph. It can be anything that their
Mhm.
energy was once connected to or used to be connected to, or something that was similar to something that they had an attachment to in the life before they became spirits. If that make any sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Like so in our family, like when my grandmother was alive, one of my grandmothers, she always sat in the same recliner all the time, and she was always eating green apples. She loved to sit there and watch TV at all hours of the day and night. I don't think she ever slept. And she would sit there and peel green apples and eat them. And so when she passed, the day of her funeral, we went back to the house afterwards to have the family wanted to have dinner. And my brothers and sisters and my mom and I, we hadn't slept in like 2 days by this point. So we were tired, and we have a bad habit, like in my family, if you get too tired, a lot of them will just start laughing at everything. So we were standing around, and the some of the neighbors and so forth
Hysteria.
had come over. Yeah, some of the neighbors had come over, and we just got through just burying her, and we were back at the house, and we were all so tired. It was like we were just like staying around, not even talking, and just laughing at each other and stuff. And then me and my mom and a couple of other sisters and my one of my brothers was standing over next to her recliner, and my mom got this look on her face that was priceless. She had that oh my God look, and I just looked over at her and I saw it and I was like, what's going on? And about that time I smelt just this overpowering smell of green apples. And I was like, oh my God. Like you could see everybody's face just changed over to that, oh my God, look, as they started smelling it. And we all just busted out, and the neighbors were trying to figure out what was going on. And so my mom goes, she's over here eating green apples in this chair, watching us. And the neighbors just all went, they like, two of them walked out the door. They were just like, I don't even want to have anything to do. My grandma forever, like after one of my sisters took her chair home with her, and she was like, every time I turn around, there's a smell of green apples all over the place from that chair. Like it's not always there, but when it's there, it's strong.
You know it.
Hmm.
I notice a lot of more males will get spirit bound
Hmm.
in grandfather clocks.
Hmm.
That or pocket watches. I know my great grandfather, he was really attached to his grandfather clock, and that stopped working when I was about 9 years old. It stopped
Wow.
working, and then when he passed away, it started working again.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like certain things, like you also remember them by, they
Hmm.
tend to get attached to. So you know that so you know that they are still watching over you. Because he was very prideful of that
Hmm.
grandfather clock. When he left, when he wasn't in the army anymore, and he finally got a house, and he's working in the coal mines and different stuff. And I mean, he was a farmer, he did all kinds of stuff, but it was one of the things that he was really proud of.
Hmm. You guys
There
talking
is
about,
actually there's a lot of history on my great grandfather's side. His sister got murdered
oh wow.
when she
Yeah.
was a teenager. And a lot of people, especially his siblings, kind of made him not want to talk to them because
Hmm.
of it. Uh, because they moved on and he didn't.
Hmm.
It was a hate crime.
Oh well, yeah. Yeah.
It was a hate crime because they're indigenous. She was a teen. They were her and her friend were up in an apple tree, and a couple of boys came by, was like, "Hey, do you want to see me shoot a bird?" Shot her point blank.
Wow.
She was like 12, 13 years old,
Hmm.
and the police try to say it was accidental, quote unquote accidental. But my great grandfather had one of the very few copies of the book that was dedicated to his sister that passed away.
Hmm.
I actually received that book when my Nana passes. That is a generational book that I'm gonna have.
Yeah.
Nobody else is gonna have access to that book at all. My great grandfather had one of the very little copies that didn't get burned. So having that given to me by my Nana when she passes, that is absolutely amazing.
Right.
But there's a lot from just going to places, and that's one thing that's annoying. I can go to a random place and there's spirit activity, and I'm just like, oh, I'm not here for you.
Right. Right. Yeah, it was like there was a conversation last night on my live. Then we were talking about how spirits are not just in haunted houses, they're everywhere.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. I find the most haunted places is the oldest cemeteries that aren't like normal cemeteries. They're like, they're cemeteries that not only are like, a lot of them you have to find by coordinates. So there's actually one in Nashville I didn't get
Hmm.
to go to, but the only way to get to it is follow the coordinates, and it's one of the most haunted cemeteries in Tennessee.
Hmm.
But a lot of the older cemeteries, like a lot of my family's, like indigenous, they're haunted. Like their cemeteries are haunted because somebody decided to bury a white supremacist there,
Hmm.
and when they did that, it angered spirits,
Hmm.
and yeah, I guess they never heard the saying, "Don't bury stuff on Indian burial ground." You don't do that. But I find that in Catholic churches and like anywhere that was a segregated place, it doesn't matter if that was a school or a farm, but there's a lot of pain attached to those places. There's a lot of
Hmm.
energy attached to those places. There's a lot of spirits that are attached and entities. Um, One of the places I visited in Louisiana, and I cried the minute I walked on that property. Um, it used to be an old slave farm,
Hmm.
and there was a mass murder that happened there.
Hmm.
People were shot, people were hung, um, and the energy, all I felt like doing was cry, cause all you felt was heartache and sorrow. It was nothing but pure pain, and you could feel that everybody was miserable being there. And even though you didn't necessarily see the spirits, you heard them.
Right.
You would hear the running up and down the stairs. You would hear the sorrow screams and the slamming of the doors. It was horrific. And I don't understand. I do, but I don't. I don't understand how they allow just tourists to come into these places as a, oh, look what we did. Look what we made it where it's now a historian. Like, are you proud of this type of history? That
Right.
people were hurt? That, like, do you think that's some kind of justice? Because it's not.
Right. Right.
I don't understand that. I understand they want to protect and they want to keep it in original shape and form, like conserve it, but to showcase it like a trophy,
Yeah, that's kind of gross.
yeah, it's And people don't look at them as being like haunted and stuff. They don't look at them at being, they're like, ooh, this was a part of history. This is so cool. But you want to complain about going to a haunted mansion or a haunted school.
Yeah.
That makes me feel a certain way. I actually visited one of the oldest haunted colleges in Virginia and
Mm.
a old asylum.
Oh wow,
When I was actually in between elementary school and middle school, Honaker, Virginia. If anybody knows Virginia, if you know Honaker, both the elementary school and the high school are haunted.
yeah. Oh wow.
There used to be a farm where a woman got murdered where the elementary school was, and over at the high school, uh, it was a principal, I think it was, and a janitor, and somebody else that got murdered. One
Mm.
got murdered in the one got murdered in the gym, one got murdered in the basement, and the other one got murdered in the boiler room.
Wow.
Yeah. She had her own input on that. But
Apparently.
yeah, when it came to that high school, you could hear them running up and down the stairs, and you could hear the echo, the scream in the gymnasium.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. One of the things I've noticed too is like a lot of people will report like the old theaters, the really old ones, that they'll hear a bunch of people laughing and stuff like that in
Laughing and
them.
giggling.
Oh yeah, Pam, one of the mods, asked if you have family or acquaintances that you can share your gifts with.
One of my sisters and my nana,
Mhm.
um, they are the very few I feel safe about. My sister sees spirits. My nana actually got to see a couple of the spirits that I've seen. And okay, be quiet, baby. I'm doing an interview. Um, my nana actually got to see a couple of spirits that I told her about for her own self. And when she seen them for herself, despite the fact that her beliefs are different than mine, she still respected me. But when my mother was still gaslighting me, my nana would like come defend me and it's like, hey, you just ate, now be quiet. But my nana would come in and defend me because she knew I wasn't lying. She knew I wasn't making stuff up. And my mother would kind of get mad that she would defend me. Like, she'd get irritated. Like, oh, you're siding with her. Narcissist. That's all I gotta say. Living with a narcissistic evangelical is not the best upbringing.
Yeah, that can be kind of torturous, kind of.
Chinese water torture would probably be more pleasant.
I can't disagree with that. Uh, Oh, well, what is it? Oh, Pam wants to know if you are Rh negative or not.
Hmm?
Rh negative, it's a blood type.
I don't know.
I know, right? I don't know what my blood type is either.
It's somewhere written down in my medical stuff. I'd have to dig that out. I just don't keep that on hand. That's such an odd question.
Well, not really, because there's a theory that people who are Rh negative tend to be there tends to be a larger number of them that are gifted
Oh,
than
I did
yeah,
not know this.
yeah. So
I'm intrigued now.
yeah.
I didn't know this. I hate needles. Now I want to go get my blood drawn.
I know I've thought about having mine typed again. I have never actually I don't think I've ever known what my blood type is, to be honest with
I know I have a rare blood type. Mm, I know that much. That it's rare.
you. It
Because
probably is. Yeah.
because when I was in the hospital and they had to give me several units of blood, they had to have Nashville uh ship it via helicopter to the hospital I was having surgery at.
Oh wow.
So I know my blood type is rare, but I can't tell you what it is offhand.
I believe like the rarest is wait a minute. Pam, is Rh negative the rarest blood type there is? I think it is. It's always hard for me to remember these things. I was never good at like I can remember all kinds of trivia and everything else, but I can't remember
Me
biology
too.
and stuff. I really can't.
Me too. So me and you would be good at Jeopardy.
Right? Right. Um, there's all kinds
I,
of stuff that I remember, but I can never remember stuff like that.
you know what's strange? My favorite books growing up, and even as an adult, is called Saint. What are they? No, they're not Saint John's. The something John's toilet readers, and you're supposed to read them on the toilet, and they got like short stories and weird facts about them. And I'll just sit on the couch, just reading one, and it's like, oh, look at this weird fact that I learned today. Aren't you supposed to read that on the toilet? You're supposed to, but it's not an obligation.
Wow.
They're really cool. I really like them. They're very bizarre. And that's actually weird because they have one called Bizarre and it has a rubber duck on it.
Oh, wow. So one of your friends made it in, Big Dog.
Huh?
I said one of your friends made it into the chat
Hi!
there, Big Dog.
How are you? Oh, yes. I've seen spirits a lot throughout my life, but I've seen entities I can't really explain. Some of them are indigenous related, and the other ones I'm like, I don't know what you are. You're friendly, but I'm keeping a good, healthy distance.
Yeah, yeah, I can relate to that too. I've seen some that I just go, that's weird. Uh, um, yeah, I think one of the things that is like somebody asked me one time, said, so do you do you think that all the angels look like the ones that are painted in pictures and so forth? I was like, oh no, no.
I've actually seen my first angel when I was about 5 or 6 years old. They're huge. They're good 9, 10 feet tall. Easy.
Hmm.
They're not as pretty as they paint them. And they're really shielded. Like, they're shielded. But they don't come off friendly. The first one I seen had a sight. And like I said, it was terrifying. What happened was when I was a kid, I was really bad at both sleepwalking and astral projection. And what happened was I ended up going down a intersection and a lady turned her car sideways, let everybody hit her, and this angel shot out of her car.
Oh wow.
And yeah, it was the most terrifying shit I ever seen. I was like,
Yeah.
I felt like I was about to break my neck just looking up. Cause I'm short. I'm 4'11" at 27, going to be 28 years old. Imagine how little I was then. Looking up that tall, like, what are you?
Mhm. That's
I once saw an angel when I was at a hospital. I was visiting a friend of mine that just had surgery, and down the hall, uh, and this little old lady was down the hall in her room, and she was fixing to walk down the hallway, and an angel of death was walking behind her.
oh wow.
And yeah, I was like, yep, you're not gonna be here very long. And it was, when I say angel of death, it appeared just like a regular angel would, but shorter, pitch black, with the big wings. I mean, the wings were so big that it went over the shoulders. And it was just following her. And it was about that much off the ground. Like, it wasn't walking or anything. It was just kind of just passing along with her. But I was like, oh,
Wow,
well,
yeah.
I hope you had a good life, Granny. And she didn't seem bothered by it. She didn't seem like she seemed like she was ready. The way she held herself, she looked like she was exhausted and she was tired.
Hmm.
And I see that a lot where people are just tired of fighting. They just kind of, when it happens, it'll happen.
Right.
But I've told people several times, I do not fear death. I fear
Hmm.
life. I don't fear death. Death is a lot more peaceful than life is. Your hell isn't when you pass away, it's what you're experiencing in the now. And a lot of people don't understand that. Your hell and my hell would be two different things because you have different fears than I do. You have different phobias than I do. You have your own experiences. And it's harder to overcome those alive than it would if you were to be passed away. And people look at me like I'm crazy when I say that. But if you fear death, how are you going to live? How are you
Right.
going to enjoy life? How are you going to appreciate life if you're constantly worrying about tomorrow?
Right. Right. And I think that's, you know, Westerners tend to be kind of programmed into this whole fear of the unknown. It's a human trait, but it's definitely a very Western thing, though.
Yeah, there's a lot of fear of the unknown. And I think when I blame Hollywood for everything. I don't think Hollywood helps with that because they have marketed so much of spirituality and paranormal to fear base their audience that they don't want to think of other possibilities that are out there. They feel comfortable with what they're accustomed to. And that's why I think people get so like jump scared when it comes to stuff is because where they're so
Mhm.
accustomed to their comforts because of their fears. That's why they jump scare so easily. They aren't testing. They're not testing the waters and the possibilities. Go watch your
Right.
cartoon and your mushrooms over there.
Right. So Ray made it in tonight.
Hi,
It's so funny because like I was just like looking down, all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute, that's Ray. So one of the things that always kind of, I guess, in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking about myself. Like I'll get the sense that there's somebody around or that somebody is trying to get my attention or whatever, and look around, and sure enough, it right in front of me, sometimes literally right in front of me. Uh, and it's one of those things where at the end of the day, I'm just going, how can other people not see this?
I can't hear Skylar. Be quiet.
I'm like, how
She's
can
trying to
people
hand me a
not hear this?
mushroom.
Oh, wow, that's funny.
She likes she likes eating raw vegetables.
Not a bad deal. Not a bad deal at all.
No, I'm glad.
Definitely so. Definitely so. So
Yeah,
what?
there's different ways they can connect with you. Some are more annoying than others. Sometimes I feel like you said, you can feel their energy, and sometimes they're behind you, sometimes they're in front of you. It's like
Mhm.
being poked. Where am I being poked from?
Right, right. Or like my favorite experience is when I'm sitting down doing something and something will just like fall with no reason for it and stuff. And I'm like,
I've
really?
had picture frames do that. Picture frames or like and it's not just human spirits that I see, it's also animal spirits. I had
Hmm.
this one animal spirit. I love cats, but this one spirit, it pissed me off than all of my cats. It took every opportunity to knock something over.
Mm.
Okay, I see you. What do you want?
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Mushrooms are great veggies. You
So
see, they're
let me ask you
scary.
this. Is before we head out here, is there any social media, any last words that you want to share with us
Um,
tonight?
I do want to say some last words. If you
Hmm.
ever randomly get encountered with a entity or a spirit,
Hmm.
don't immediately get scared. A lot of them aren't there to harm you. They're just as confused as you are most of the time. Some of them just pass through, some of them are just connected to something that you have possession of,
Exactly.
but they're not all bad. That's just a social propaganda that a lot of social outlets like to put out there to scare you. But
Exactly.
yes, I have a TikTok. It is Wicked Willow's Cavern. You'll find all of my other links underneath my bio. You can shoot me a message there or on Instagram. My link tree is in my bio.
Awesome.
So I'm
Thank
still
you.
so
Thank you very
much.
much. So
You
you
can
guys
eat mushroom. It's
just know
very
that yes,
tasty.
yes, exactly that. Don't always be afraid of things. It's not as first
A
of
lot of
all,
times it's not as scary as you think it is. A lot of
right,
times when you fear based stuff, you make it 3 to 10 times scarier than it actually is. It's like riding a roller coaster. Once you ride it once, you're like, okay, that's not too bad. This cough is nasty.
exactly. Is
She's
I
handing
love her.
mushrooms.
I
I'm
love
getting a.
her.
I
That's
told you she
great.
works with Loki. Loki is a part of
Right,
the Fae. I'm getting a
right.
gift of mushrooms.
There you go. There you
These
go.
are gifts. They're
All
yummy.
right. So
They're really, really.
I'm going to
Put that in your mouth.
drop you out and
Please.
close out the show, and we will close
Blessed
that.
be, and don't do reckless magic.
Absolutely, 100%. Do not do reckless magic.
I try to preach that as often as I can.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. Um,
I
give me
feel
just a minute.
strong.
I'll be right back with you, okay?
Okay.
All right. And there you have it, my friend Willow. I'm telling you, I love that last comment. Don't practice reckless magic. Don't practice reckless anything. How about that? Um, so this was a special edition tonight, kind of a kickoff for uh, a bit of a series I'm going to start doing where I focus on people's paranormal experiences. There's been a few of my guests lately that have specific things that they do. Obviously, podcasters, ghost hunters, and so forth. And we've been talking about that. But I'm going to start bringing on some people that have real life experiences uh, and that really don't have, like, we're not going to talk about about um, specialties or anything like that. It's going to just be about their life and their experiences. So I wanted tonight to kind of kick that off. I appreciate you guys for coming out tonight. And let's see, next week we do have one of my favorite podcasters. Paranormal Paul is going to be in with us next week. So come out and check that out. That'll be Friday night at 7 p.m. Central Time. And I've got some pretty good lineups coming up. So you guys pay attention, watch, look at what's coming up on my YouTube channel. I'm putting them in as soon as I can. The coming soon thumbnails, watch for those. Anyway, I love you guys. I will see you next week, and may your journey always be magical.